Here's another opportunity, right? Volunteers, what do you reckon, higher or lower? Higher? Everybody, yeah? Well, spot on, and I'm chuffed about that one. That's a massive increase, and forgive me, but we're going to take some credit for that, especially this guy, because this report covers the exact period when the volunteer centre's been open. And I think we should, recognise that we've had thousands of people registering with our volunteer centre every year, something which you couldn't do in Manchester 5 years ago. So before we set the volunteer centre up, you put volunteering Manchester into Google and it sent you to Trafford, which really annoyed me, and now that is no longer the case. So yeah, I'm claiming a little chunk of that for Macc, but obviously that's a huge, think about the population of Manchester is 500,000. And there's 110,900 people volunteering in our sector. That's not people who are volunteering for the police or the universities or any of the other public bodies. That's just people who are involved in regular volunteering for us. It also, of course, doesn't include people who just turn up and do something, if there's a litter pick at the local park and you don't have to register, you just come along and help. So there is a massive amount of effort going on. Isn't that brilliant? That's a huge success story. Those 94,300 volunteers in 2013 were giving 370,400 hours a week collectively, right? What do you think's happened to that figure? Up? Down? Down. Even with nearly, do the maths, 16,000 more people, the number of hours they are giving has gone down. Now, I think that's why some of this is not about replacing paid workers. I think this is a change in the nature of what it means to be a volunteer. You do a bit when you can because you are still earning when you can. People's disposable time has gone down. This is true nationally as well, it's not just Manchester. But there's some knock-on effects for us, which we'll talk about later. So I think to some extent, this is a success in the outreach to people who've not previously been involved in volunteering, who are doing something and, if you like, doing a bit more than nothing, as it were. I don't mean that to sound awful, but people who might previously have not done anything at all are suddenly thinking, well, I could do that, I could do an hour here and there, and that's good because more people are engaging in volunteering, so they're getting a benefit out of it. Even if it's not delivering as much benefit for other people, we have still got more active citizens in this, so that's a good thing. But obviously it means we've got a bit of a workforce issue there, which we need to think about. So, paid staff. So previously 12,400 full-time equivalent, which was actually 17,200 people. Is anybody going to suggest this has gone up? Nah, of course it's gone down. But it's gone down by quite an interesting amount. So we've lost over 1,000 full-time equivalent people, but not that many actual employees. So what that says to me is we are trying to save money by cutting hours down. That's the kind of salami savings approach. You slice off a little bit here and there and tighten things up. I also wonder, and it'd be interesting to talk about this later, whether most of that's been lost from cutting back office, cutting management, cutting all the things that you do, and focusing as much of our resources as possible on frontline delivery. Because I think from just my own, having seen what's been going on in the sector, there are simply less people around who are able to get out and do all that collaboration and influencing and stuff like that, which we'll come back to later. Income. This is a slightly tricky one. Now, on the face of it, looks quite good news. 526 million is higher than 477 million, which it was last time. But I think two things are going on here. One is there was a bit of an issue in the data because it looked like there was a sudden massive leap between 2012 and 2013. And I don't think that's true. That's the point where the two surveys met. So I think there's something about the responses that we got, and something about, you always find out quite a while after what income you got during the year. You know, from doing your annual accounts and stuff, if you're a larger organisation, you probably found out, oh, actually, we didn't do as badly as it felt like during the financial year. Particularly, obviously for small organisations this isn't quite as true, but I suspect that change in pattern has something to do with it as well. So what the data actually says is that our sector's income fluctuated massively during that period. We know from the last survey that the sector's income was going down at the time in Manchester, which was ahead of the national trend. Nationally, it was going up. Now, NCVO published data at the same time as we published our previous one, and we'd already started with the first year of austerity, because Manchester got hit pretty hard in that first wave of public sector cuts. The rest of the country then caught up, but I think this peak is possibly, do you remember all the transition fund money and all those kind of emergency funds that lottery and people suddenly started putting out? I think that some of that is probably a bit exaggerated by the survey, but I think some of that is that emergency money coming through and then being lost again. So I think we've seen huge fluctuations in our sector's income as we've tried to cope with the demand. But overall, we're staying, I would say, probably roughly the same, which is interesting when you think about demand and expenditure. This is only income, and we'll come on to what's changing there.